Welcome to Sense of Style. I'm Stuart. This is not a video about compliments. This is a video about something more because there are two types of fragrance interactions. There is the you smell good fragrance interaction, and then there is the you smell awesome. What are you wearing? And then they pepper you with questions interaction. That is much more meaningful, and that's what we're going for today. I think there are two ways of getting the more meaningful interaction. The first is hitting the sweet spot, wearing a fragrance that is perfect for you and perfect for the situation. The second is wearing something different that they haven't smelled before and they like it and they want to know more. So today I have 7 fragrances that I think would really help you get one of these cool interactions, because let's face it, there is a big difference between you smell good today and oh my God, you smell amazing. You always smell amazing. Fragrance number 1 is M7 Oud Absolu from YSL. And Oud, while we know a lot about Oud in the fragrance community, the general public doesn't know anything about it. It's going to be something different to them. And if they really like it, you're going to get peppered with questions. You're going to create a much more meaningful interaction. What I love about this fragrance is it really is as close as you're going to get in the Western world to like a rich oud experience, because things like Tom Ford's Oud Wood and Versace's Oud Noir, there's oud there, but they've been freshened up in so many different ways and they made it, I don't know, as accessible as possible. It's not a true, authentic, deep and rich and dark Middle Eastern oud. And while this is not as strong as M7, it's as close as you're going to get to something realistic. So I didn't realize this, but the original M7 was a complete bomb when it came to retail sales. Nobody bought it. Then L'Oreal bought YSL. They reformulated M7 in 2008. It still didn't sell. Then they discontinued it in 2010. Finally, they came out with this in 2011. This was their third attempt. This did start to sell. Why? Because I think they hit the sweet spot. It's as close as you're going to get to an authentic Middle Eastern oud without watering it down to the extent that Oud Wood has done by surrounding it with a lot of fresh notes, because this is actually quite dark. So you're going to get oud, which is a dark note. You're going to get patchouli, which is a dark note. You're going to get myrrh, which is another dark note. Then you're going to get labdanum, so you're going to get the sweetness, which what normally comes in an authentic Middle Eastern oud. There is a hint of freshness here. There's a mandarin note that gives it a little bit, but really it's quite a dark, rich, authentic oud experience. It's got really solid performance in terms of projection. It's an eau de toilette, so it's only going to last about 6 hours, but the projection is absolutely monstrous. People are going to notice it. This will definitely start a conversation or two. Fragrance number 2, Prada L'Homme. And Prada L'Homme, look, it is not a conventional compliment-getting fragrance, there's no question, but this is the kind of fragrance where if you wear consistently over time in the right situation, and I think it's well established at this point that this is a great office fragrance. If you do that, not only are you likely to get, oh my God, you always smell so good, but there's a really good chance that because it's got a sophisticated element to it, people can perceive you as being maybe a little more sophisticated than you are, because that iris, that really is a sophisticated note. And this was actually created in 2016 to compete with blue fragrances. Things like Dior Sauvage, Bleu de Chanel, which were very popular at the time. Now, it didn't win. It lost the overall battle, but it did win the office. This is generally thought to be a great office fragrance. It makes so much sense because while Bleu de Chanel and Dior Sauvage, you know, they're going to smell clean and nice at the office, you don't have the iris note that this has, which adds a little bit of sophistication. I mean, if I was working in an office today, I swear to God, I would wear this thing all the time. Fragrance number 3 is one of the best situational fragrances that you are ever going to find. It is Terre Eau Givree. And what I love about this is the fact that it is a fantastic high heat fragrance that lasts a long time. And that is so hard to do. There's a ton of high heat fragrances out there. Things like Dior Homme Cologne, Jimmy Choo Man Eyes, YO Fresh. And those are great in the high heat. They're very citrusy, very, very fresh, but they don't last more than 3 hours. The great thing about this is at least 5 hours. It is high heat. I mean, it's an icy citrus fruit. It's going to compete with the other ones, but it's going to last. It's going to give people a lot of opportunity to smell it. And my God, in the high heat, that's a perfect opportunity to get a compliment to smell fresh when it's really hard to smell fresh. So this is what I like to call like a tingly citrus fragrance. It's meant to smell like frozen citrus fruit, and it really does have that vibe. So you're going to get the citrus element from the citron note, which is a dry citrus note, and timur, which is a spice, but it smells like grapefruit. So you combine those two for the citrus, and then you're going to get that icy feel from the mineral notes and the juniper. But the longevity comes from the woods, because it is a Terre d'Hermes fragrance after all, and the woods give it some body that the other very, very fresh fragrances don't have, and so you get that performance. And quite frankly, I am not sure that Jean-Claude Elena could have done this. A lot of people are on Christine Nagels. They're really annoyed. They don't like the intense version, the EDP. But this, I don't think Jean-Claude Elena could have done it, because he liked transparent fragrances. He was a minimalist. He liked transparency, so kind of a light feel. Now, she's also a minimalist, but she likes denser fragrances. And that really worked here. Didn't work so much with the EDP Intense. People don't seem to like that. But the density, I think, really helped it give it some body, made it last a little bit longer. And you really got to give her credit for this, because, yeah, this one works so good in the heat. Fragrance number 4 is the best autumn fragrance that I have ever smelled, and it is not close. It's Hugo Boss bottled EDP Intense. And while this has been discontinued, and it is much stronger than the Eau de Toilette, like this is 12 hours. The Eau de Toilette is about 4. Really what I'm talking about here is the DNA, that combination of vanilla, apple, and cinnamon that makes it smell like an apple pie. I mean, if you live in North America, whether you're in Canada or the US, apple pie is a staple for Thanksgiving, for fall, you know? So it smells perfectly. I can just imagine, you know, dressed up in a nice sweater, the leaves are a different color, and you've got the turkey cooking, the apple pie, and you're going to smell just like it. You're going to fit in so perfectly. I can't think of anything better. And I mean, this was a compliment getter, oddly enough, hardcore in the early 2000s in Europe. This came out in 1998, and in the early 2000s, this was considered a generational fragrance in Europe, including the UK. Everybody was wearing it, and people only do that if you're going to pull compliments. But if you get the situation right as well by wearing it in the fall, that's going to lead to, what are you wearing? Oh my God, you smell so good. Like you really suit the occasion. You're going to get that. I am not kidding. And I happen to think that the original EDT, and I mean, I guess this as well to a lesser extent, are partially responsible for the gourmandy trend we have today, because an apple pie is essentially a gourmandy. So first you got Le Male in 95. You got this in 98. Both were super iconic, and both proved that a man could smell a little bit sweeter and still get compliments and still be appealing to people. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Fragrance number 5 is going to seem super weird. It came out in 2003. It is very inexpensive. I think it's $35 to $40 for 100 milliliters. I never hear anybody talk about it, but I believe it's one of the top 5 inexpensive fragrances that I've ever worn. It's Azzaro's Visit. And this is not the kind of fragrance where you're going to get a compliment right away. In fact, there's a good chance if you decide to buy something like this, I mean, I think it's $35, that you're going to smell it and go, whoop-de-doo. Because that's what I did. I bought it because it bears a strong similarity to Gucci Rush. A spicy woody fragrance that was really popular in the early 2000s. It was expensive back then. This is the closest thing you can get to it. And it is quite close. It's slightly smokier and slightly sweeter, but essentially what you're looking at here is a woody fragrance with just the right amount of spice. And I didn't get that. I smelled it. I was so unimpressed. I wore it about 3 or 4 times, and then one day I'm like, okay, now I know what people were talking about with Gucci Rush is a nice, subtle spiciness to the fragrance. It projects reasonably well, so people are going to notice. Performance is like 4 hours. It's not a ton, but it smells so nice. It's cedar, guaiac wood, and incense, nutmeg, cardamom, and pink pepper. It's subtle. It's one of those ones where you need to wear on a regular basis, and people are going to get a vibe for it eventually, and then they're going to go, you smell great all the time. I really believe in this fragrance. Fragrance number 6 is all about finding a fragrance I think that really suits your style. I think it's more likely to get a meaningful compliment if you can do that. And in my case, that fragrance was Prada Amber Pour Homme Intense. And I didn't know 3 years ago that I was a Prada guy. I was at work. I was wearing this. And it was really busy. And my boss said that she smelled this and thought it was the nicest thing she'd ever smelled. She got me to stop work for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I had to write down the name for her. I had to show her the website and how to buy it and everything because she wanted to buy it for her husband. But I think the fact that this fragrance suited my look, my aesthetic, and who I was as a person helped her like it a bit. I suspect her husband is probably like a similar style. But yeah, now I know I'm a Prada guy. And this is a fragrance I wore a whole ton anyway. Now, it is a Prada Amber fragrance, but it is definitely darker than the original Amber Pour Homme. They emphasize myrrh here a lot more than saffron. Both notes are here, but you got a lot of myrrh, you got a lot of patchouli. There is an amber note as well. It's just a really pleasant, very clean fragrance. I would have had it higher, but it's discontinued, so I tend to bury it a little bit in the videos because people don't like hearing about fragrances that are discontinued. But yeah, if that sounds like who you are, I mean, this is definitely something to consider getting at some point. Fragrance number 7 is a wild card because I'm a big believer in contrast. I do think for the most part, you want to find out what your aesthetic is and find fragrances that suit it and then wear them consistently over time. But I'm also a big believer in going against type, doing something completely different. And for that, I would recommend Goodness Oud by Riiffs. Now, this is a clone of Rose Vanille by Mancera. Now, it's not exactly the same thing. Rose Vanille is essentially a lot of rose and a lot of vanilla. It's a unisex fragrance leaning feminine. This is very much like that, except this has a very fresh quality to it. It has ozonic notes, and it's got some salt to it. So it's got a fresh quality that you don't get with Rose's Vanille. But I really like the scent. And I think if you are a very masculine guy, and I've said this before about Black Orchid by Tom Ford. If you're a very masculine guy, it's an interesting twist to try something unisex, feminine. You don't want to go all the way in like a hardcore feminine fragrance, but definitely challenge people because that can definitely get attention. I actually had a couple of people early on in my channel say that they did that. And in one case, it was with Black Orchid. He got one of the best compliments he's ever gotten. And so, yeah, this is the kind of thing you want to think of for situations like that. But anyway, yeah, I like the idea. I've had so many cool interactions with people. And yeah, the old, look, I really like the old, oh, you smell good today. That's great. But I like a lot more when you have a real conversation with someone, then maybe you get to know them a little better. That's happened to me too. And then the best of all is you always smell good. I've had a couple of those, and those are awesome. Thanks for watching.